Welcome back to How to Start, Grow and Monetise Your Podcast with me, James Burtt, and him, the podpreneur, Alex Chisnall. Today on the podcast, we're talking all about how to leverage AI tools to maximise your podcast, whether that be maximising the time that you're spending on the podcast, maximising the reach of your podcast, or just maximising and leveraging the most amount of time and effort and energy that you're putting into this thing. Because we all know, as podcast creators, and if you're already launching a podcast, you might know as well, it can be a big lot of time, effort and energy to get a pod off the ground and to hit the levels of success that you want to. But there's some great tools out there.
Take a breath.
Back in the day, me and you had to do this manually.
All of it,
the whole bloody thing. But now there's so many tools out there that can help you to speed up the process, make it easier, make it simpler, and ultimately to have more of an impact. So give me your number one AI tool.
I think I'm going to start with the one that most people would have heard of. You'd like to think most people would have heard of ChatGPT by now.
Oh, what?
Are you the only person who hasn't heard of Mr. ChatGPT?
I heard a brilliant podcast today about how someone's using ChatGPT as a therapist.
As a therapist?
It's amazing. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
You basically get it to ask you questions. So what a lot of people use it for is answers. Hey, how do I do this thing?
Yeah.
But instead, they've set up the prompts to be like, hey, ask me about this. And when you've got enough information, maybe give me a suggestion. I was like, that's genius. Anyway, sorry, you carry on.
Well, funnily enough, on that theme,
I need a therapist, guys. I need a therapist.
He needs many therapists, and not all of them will be able to help him fully. Our mutual friend, Piers Lenny, former Dragon's Den investor, he put a post out a couple of days ago alluding to that, in that he goes, if you've been using ChatGPT for a little while, why don't you turn the tables and actually ask ChatGPT what you need to do in 2025 to meet? It was something like to meet your goals, to have success in business life. It should know you from that
well enough
questions you've asked it to do it in this style, etc., etc. So for those of you who haven't used ChatGPT when it comes to your podcast. There's so many different things you can use it for, but ultimately, I think where I'm most comfortable using it is leaning on it, is leveraging it. Okay, so getting it to do some of the donkey work when it comes to, for example, researching the most popular ideas that people want to learn about to podcasting.
Don't insinuate that that's what I've done, Chisnall, while you've been on the train coming up here. I used ChatGPT.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you?
What else can you use it for?
So I'll be using ChatGPT to research the ideas that people are searching for. The most popular ideas out there. Yes, you can use Google as well, but ChatGPT is fast becoming
the new Google.
Yeah. Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
Nobody?
Yeah.
Maybe ChatGPT did.
Probably.
Also, to help you structure your actual podcast. So if you'd like to put a structure to your podcast, if you would like to come up with different questions that you would like to ask your guests, different formats, different ways to monetize your podcast, all these questions that you can actually ask it. You can also, really fine tune things with ChatGPT by doing it in a particular way or style. Like it will suggest, you'll ask it a question, it'll come up with an example, and you go, actually, could you make that a bit more, economical with the pros? Could you make that, no offense to any Americans out there, a little less Americanized in the language? And I don't know, that seems to be its default reaction for me, etc. What else would you use ChatGPT for?
So one of the things that we've been using it for recently is talking of like the leverage thing, is optimizing show notes, making it rank well from an SEO perspective. I've got a bunch of prompts. In fact, if you want these, find us on Instagram, either tap up me or tap up Al, and just DM us the word prompt, and I'll send you the prompts that I'm using, because we've got one where, there's another tool we'll talk about in a second, which is called Otter. So I take the transcript from Otter, I feed that in based on a certain prompt, and I get it to give me the show notes. Then from the show notes, I then say, hey, that's brilliant show notes. Give me a YouTube specific version, because how you rank from an SEO perspective on maybe Apple or Spotify is different from how you'd optimize it for YouTube potentially. Right, based on that, what would be the... in fact, what? I'm just going to get the prompts up. Let me just look at the prompts.
While you're looking at that, I will let you do that, and I will carry on that conversation for you.
Got no internet in this office, have we? We just found that out from my head of production, Sam, so I can't look at anything. I've got some good prompts though, guys. I've got some good prompts.
But taking that further again, it's just reminded me podcast that I'm working on tomorrow. So what we also did for that was got ChatGPT to write the intro, to write the outro, to write the show description, to write the ads.
Yeah.
What else? There was something else I was going to mention there as well. Tell me, what else was I going to mention?
So the prompts thing that I've temporarily forgotten, but I will come back to. So it was, so I get to write the show notes, then I get to write a YouTube show description.
Which is brilliant if you're on YouTube right now. Have a look at the
check out the description. Look, go on, we'll do it together. Look down it. Unbelievable, right?
Amazing.
Unbelievable. From the show description, I then say, what YouTube tag words would you use? I then say, great, based on the tag words, do you want to rewrite and give me a second draft? Which he then does. I then say, based on this, I put clips into it. So I put the audio clips into it and say, give me the best clickbait title for this. What would be the 3 YouTube thumbnail suggested titles that you'd add?
You'd think ChatGPT would have its own #1 YouTube smash hit channel, wouldn't you?
I think we are it.
Okay.
And all of these prompts, by the way, if you're clever with it, you can do it as one big prompt. So you can literally go, do this, then when you've done this, do this, then when you've done this, do this, then when you've done this, do this.
That's economical.
Very economical. So you can literally take the AI transcript, which we'll talk about in a second with Otter, then put it into ChatGPT and it can do it all for you. Now, I put the prompts into it manually because I want to double check, has it actually understood the premise of the podcast? Has it really understood what it's about? Because otherwise, I found the quality of the end product, if you try and get it to almost, I think of it like daisy chaining it. Do the description, then do the YouTube description, then give me the tag words, then rewrite it for me, then give me the thumbnails. I found that the end result was not quite as good. And again, if from people like me and you who used to back in the day have to manually write the show notes and manually do all that stuff, it's such a time save anyway. So ChatGPT, 100% be utilising it as leverage for your podcast.
And once you've finished doing that for your podcast,
yes,
what happens? The next logical thing you've done, we've already recorded the episode. We've then leveraged ChatGPT to do the intro, the outro, the description, the show notes, etc., etc. Ask the questions for the guests, all of that stuff. What comes next? Promoting the podcast. So that's where I've also leveraged ChatGPT, is going, okay, if I was to write this post on LinkedIn, can you write me a post on LinkedIn promoting this episode of the podcast? The title of the podcast is X. It will come back to you with some prompts, won't it? Like saying, so what is the ultimate goal of this post? Is it to get engagement? Is it to, blah, 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 blah. You can then take that and then go, okay, I want this post written as if I wanted to write a Instagram post or a Facebook post or a tweet or whatever, and it will change the amount of words and the style of the post accordingly. So I would be looking at that as well to help with your promotional and marketing strategy for growing and scaling your podcast.
Absolutely. So we talked there about the transcript, and you might go, well, that sounds brilliant, but where do I get the transcript from in the first place if all of this is the catalyst of the transcript? Tell them, Alex Chisnall, where do they go to get the transcript?
An animal.
They do. God. This is why I shouldn't feed you before you do podcast episodes, because you turn silly.
Tell them. Me with another sheesh.
Tell them.
Okay.
This could be someone's first time ever listening to this, and now they just think that all we do is knock about being stupid, eating chicken sheesh from down the road in Ilford.
Partially true.
Which is majorly true.
Okay. Otter.ai.
It is a rubbish name, isn't it?
It is.
It's a really weird name.
It is.
Do you remember the head of the CEO was on Clubhouse back in the day?
He was. I had many conversations with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting dude. Yeah, Otter.ai is the transcription service. Other ones are available. This one just happens to be really, really good.
It is really good. And we know it's really good because both of us have used everything under the sun, from humans through to Google, through to whatever other varieties of transcription service that we've paid for.
Yeah.
What's the one that we used to use? And it used to cost like
Descript.
$1. Yeah, that's it.
No, they're Rev.com.
Rev.com, there's another one.
There you go.
Yeah.
We should put affiliate links to all of this. We'll earn a bloody fortune.
We should.
Rev.com, and that was a human, wasn't it? It was $1 a minute, but it was human transcription.
Yeah.
It still exists, I think, Rev.
Does it?
It's still around.
We even used to get, one of the team to actually do the transcripts themselves, you know. And then literally in a... tiny.
I think for every hour's worth of podcast content, though, there's like a $60 cost and probably a 3 hour for someone to transcribe it. You know, it's probably 3 minutes for every 1 minute of audio, isn't it, to write it and type it? Which is
it's nuts.
It is nuts. What this is
That's
now.
what AI was crying out for.
Yeah,
so Otter's brilliant in that regard. I think we might pay something like $30, $40, $50 a month. Is that about right?
Expensive,
No, I think there's a free version, or they certainly used to be when we started out. But it's great. You literally feed it the podcast. It will give you a word by word blow of the entire conversation.
It give you a summary, give you an outline, times scales,
how many words you've used.
Yeah, it's really good.
Absolutely everything. And
top tip: if you're uploading files to Otter, by the way, always use the MP3. So always use the audio version, because if you upload a video to it, it takes bloody ages, even if it's the same thing.
Good tip. So it's
super accurate as well. I reckon it's probably 98% accurate.
It's literally what I was going to say, because everything beforehand
names very well sometimes, but again, you can give the name of each of the speakers. So you can put it, and you can download it as a SRT file that you can upload onto YouTube and all that kind of good stuff.
But it is the most accurate one that we've used. I remember Google was something about 80% accurate, but when you're giving that to a client like that, and that's what I think that's when we were getting the human then to actually go in and try and build out the missing 20%. Because clients were getting that and literally going like, "What is this gobbledygook?" Because most of it would make sense, but some of it wouldn't, because it would get one word wrong.
Imagine how it's going to deal with the word gobbledygook. It's going to struggle with that one, isn't it? Good luck, Otter.
Yeah, because I think I told you this story before, but of using, I've forgotten his name, but it was a genuine lord. He used to work under the Conservative government as like the economic minister or something, and we did an interview with him for a client. And when we sent the transcript back, they'd taken the transcript, put the subtitles on the video clips to go out, and it just changed his name from Lord whatever it was, Lord Plant. I'm going to make it up because there's a plant behind your head over there. Lord Plant. Instead of putting Lord Plant, it put Satan. S-A-T-A-N.
It
Satan.
must have knew.
I mean, you can get errors and you can get errors, but that looked
Freudian
big. About to go out live.
Yeah. Not in an ideal world, is it that?
No.
But yeah, again, and these, the reason I think when you find old podcasters like me and Al, who have done it the hard way. Established.
All the E's.
You can't say that anymore. That meant something different back in our day as well. But when you've done it manually and you know how much time that used to take, like doing show notes, even if you're not doing a full transcript, just the show notes themselves, that's probably half an hour job per episode. I think we're producing in the agency, we're probably doing 15 episodes a week. You've got to think that's like 7.5, 8 hours. That's 1 day's worth of someone's time that we can now leverage. Utilising AI.
Yeah.
Now, again, what I would say with AI is that AI will do 90% of the work for you.
Yeah.
It will take the ball all the way down the end of the field, but you've got to step over the line and put it down the ball for the try.
Or kick it in the net.
Depends
what sport you play.
I thought I'd do try because you like rugby.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about it other than you put the ball down, you get a try, and you kick it between the big stick and you get another thing.
Or if we were playing American football, you would spike the ball into the ground.
There you go. He's a fountain of knowledge, isn't he? He's a fountain of knowledge.
What else? Come on.
ChatGPT, we've covered. Otter, we've covered.
Yeah.
I'm going to use one for people who are doing video.
Good one.
AutoPod.
Okay,
now, AutoPod is a plugin which works with Adobe, and it basically takes, let's say, for example, this is a prime example here. So this is a 3-camera setup. So there's this camera that I'm looking at, there's the wide shot, and there's your camera there, right? We call that one the money shot camera because it's always looking at you, right? Back in the day, if we wanted to take this video and there's, you cut to me when I'm talking, it cuts to you when you're talking, it cuts to the wide shot when we're having, copious amounts of banter. Someone has to manually go, right, camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 2, camera 3, camera 1. Someone's doing that manually. So obviously you can only really do that in real time. AutoPod takes the audio and the video and it syncs it up. So it will take a 60-minute audio and video file and it chops it in about 90 seconds. It's unbelievable. If you watch it work, we use it, yeah.
No, am I using it?
I don't know if you're using it. You better find out from your team. Ask them. Richmond, are you using it? Lorraine, are you using it?
Are we using it? Why aren't we using it is going to be the question.
I think they probably are using it.
Okay.
And that's why they only have to work part-time hours, but they're telling you they're there full-time. But yeah, AutoPod is a really, really good system. But the thing with AutoPod, again, top tip here, you have to give it the original stems of the audio, and without getting too technical. So if you're using like a mixing desk, for example, you'll either get a stereo mix, which is all of the files bunged together in one file, or you will get the individual stems. You'll get microphone 1, microphone 2, microphone 3. You have to give it the individual stem, and you have to give it the individual videos, and then it can basically chop it together. Google it if you want to have a look at it, AutoPod. Yeah. But again, it saves so much time. And back when it first launched, which was first time I became aware of it, was about 18 months ago, and I was chatting to the team, and they're like, I think it's going to be Pony. It's not going to cut it as well as a human does it. Again, it's about 90% of the way there.
And you mentioned before it's used in conjunction with Adobe. For those who don't know, again, Adobe is a suite of products that you can use as a creator would use. They have a whole bunch of different stuff. One of them is an editing tool that I started out editing back in the day.
Oh, did you?
Now they also have Adobe Podcast, which again helps strip out background noise and stuff like that. Doesn't isolate sounds and stuff like that.
Probably loads of AI in the back end of that to make that work as well. But you've got, if you've ever heard of people talk about Premiere Pro,
that's the one.
Audition, Photoshop.
Audition, that was
That's all the
Photoshop's probably the one that most people have.
That's the Adobe suite of stuff. And again, if you are someone who wants to learn and do this stuff yourself, Adobe has got a Creative Cloud thing now, which is about $69 a month, so you can get all of the services.
Another revenue stream.
Another revenue stream. There you go. We're getting another little affiliate link. So that's ChatGPT, Otter, AutoPod. Another one that I really like, because I think... did you have another one? I had another one. Go on, have another one. You have a go.
Oh, thank you, kind sir. Thank you, kind sir.
Did it turn it to an episode of Father Ted? Oh my God, this is aging us.
So VidIQ.
Yes, okay.
So again, those of you who... want to launch or have launched a video podcast, VidIQ is a fantastic tool that I found. It has its own YouTube channel, funnily enough, and some great content in there. But you can pay a fee. Again, there's a free version. But what it basically does is enhance your whole experience when it comes to video podcasting. So again, it has an AI tool that will look at the title, look at your description.
It's for YouTube, isn't it? It's a YouTube.
It's specifically for YouTube. So it will give its own suggestions for titles, descriptions. It will rewrite stuff for you. It will suggest tags for you. So all of that kind of stuff we mentioned where we were leveraging ChatGPT. This is specifically for YouTube, for podcasts on YouTube. What it also has, which I found was pretty cool on VidIQ, was that you could list out a bunch of podcasts that they don't have to be competitors, but I was doing it as podcast in my space, and it was literally charting how many, what their subscriber growth was.
Okay.
Yeah, what their views growth was. So you could literally chart who was growing quicker. And it was interesting because we were talking about this earlier, but the Chris Williamson podcast was growing at a way faster rate than Diary of a CEO, for example. And then we were talking about our friend Dodge Woodall and his podcast. You could see how his podcast was charting as well. So I just found this super interesting. And you could also... keywords. It would also give you recommendations on keywords,
descriptions and tags and all that sort of stuff.
So
it optimizes the video for you, doesn't it, based on search?
Correct.
And that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was giving like the different numbers, as in how strong this keyword is.
That's right. Give you like a VidIQ score, wouldn't it?
Correct. Yeah. So it was a combination of those two things, which was how strong a keyword this was, how many other people were using this keyword, or was there a blue ocean opportunity to use this keyword that everybody else was missing? So
it's like what ChatGPT is doing now, if you do it manually, but just for YouTube, and before ChatGPT was doing it. And it's kind of like Google Trends almost for YouTube.
It was a little bit like that as well. Yeah, but I've found it really useful. And then there was the full all singing or dancing option, which I had, which then gave you a YouTube coach, and you could literally check in with your coach every couple of days and show them go through your latest episode, run through thumbnails, titles with them, keywords. You could just bounce ideas off this coach, and that was them trying to build out this ultimately artificial intelligence for YouTube podcasts. You had another one.
I did. Final one we'll go with for this episode. It's called Opus Clip. So Opus Clip is about, you get a freemium. I can't quite work out the monetization model with it, or I can, but I can't understand who it's aimed at. But it's basically, you get a freemium version which gives you an hour of production time. And then I think it jumps to like $70. So it's quite a big jump. But anyway, Opus Clip, effectively, you can either upload a video as an MP4 file, or you can actually just give it a YouTube URL. So again, you don't even have to be, it doesn't even have to be your content. And then it will make clips for you. Now, this is where it's really, really good. So if you upload an hour's worth of content, it will pull about 30 clips from an hour's worth of content.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if it's putting that number of clips, not all of them are going to be bangers, but a lot of them are pretty good. Yeah. It's got really good functionality in terms of branding. You can make a brand kit. So if you said, right, well, we want this certain text, these certain colors, I want a logo at the end, I want this sound bite at the end, I want like a little animation at the end of the clip, you can include all that kind of stuff. And it also, as well as doing the clips for you, it then gives you a score of why out of 100, how well it scores. So this is 98 out of 100. It will tell you why it scored it so highly. And then it will give you a suggested title and suggested written copy. So effectively, you can upload your entire podcast episode. Yeah, it does,
my
does
team
that as well.
use it, but
it's really good. And again, even for those who are the production purists who are like, yeah, but it then downgrades the video quality and blah, blah, blah. I don't like how it cuts it all up. Fine, but you might as well look at what it's picked, because it's using a bunch of clever AI in the background to work out what's most likely to be the most popular. And even if you then manually cut it yourself using Premiere Pro or whatever you're using, at least get the AI to do the thinking for you as a test. So yeah, Opus Clip, and you can do, as I say, for 60 minutes worth of audio, you'll get about 25 to 30 clips per 60 minutes.
Yeah, and I remember looking at it when it first came out and going, okay, out of these 30 clips, there are 17 that I think we can use, because some of them, if you didn't know, you have no idea what the context. This clip makes no sense, but it was just doing its thing and pushing a couple of things together. And I think maybe that's the biggest learning with all of this, is that it still needs, to use your analogy, someone to score the goal at the other end. You could do get it to do the manual donkey work for you, get it to do the research, but ultimately it does need personalization. Does need personalization. Yeah. So as long as you know that, go and use all of these tools. And I have no doubt within 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to be doing another episode about this, talking about another 5 tools that we've since discovered, because they're coming out left, right, and centre.
Yeah, and they're getting better and better. Again, sort of talk about the AI. I know we've mentioned it before. Riverside, for example, which we recorded a bunch of our stuff on.
That's changed.
Riverside has got loads of stuff built into it now. So you've got Magic Clip, it'll do you the transcript.
Yeah.
AI, the thing with AI and machine learning is it gets better. The more and more you use it, the better and better it gets.
Yeah.
So like with the prompts, for example, it will start to understand you better. It'll understand your audience better. You'll start to get, it will sound like the tone of voice you want more frequently, more often. But as Al said, don't just set and forget. Allow it to do 90% of the donkey work, and then personalize, humanize, and make it sound human. Because again, with podcast, people buy from people that don't buy from machines. And if a post sounds like ChatGPT, then people can spell it a mile off.
And to finish up,
yes.
What's the one called? This was flagged to me recently, and I knew you knew about it as well, as a former client of mine flagged, which was you can create an AI version of podcast hosts, and then you can create content with your AI podcast twin.
Notebook LM. I think it is, which actually does the audio for you.
Yeah, it does the audio.
Yeah, I think it's got Notebook LM. We mentioned it on a previous podcast. I think it's Notebook LM. It's an offshoot from Google.
Right.
But it's really freakishly accurate. Like I listened, we did one for a client. We actually did a whole episode where they put a transcript.
Katie?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we put a transcript of a previous episode. They'd do a follow-up episode with 2 new hosts, and it was unreal. It was really, really engaging. It was really good. But again, people buy from people, man. Don't fear the AI.
No, agree.
AI is not going to steal your job, but the person who knows how to use AI is.
Correct.
And if ChatGPT, the overlords, are listening, Remember, I was for you rather than against you when they take over.
He's scared.
Are you polite to ChatGPT?
I
say please and thank you.
So do I, but I wonder, does anybody else? I'm sure
Yeah,
my
do
kids
it.
don't.
Yeah,
I'm sure
no,
my
I do
kids
it.
don't when they do
Yeah.
that anyway.
Anyway, if you've enjoyed this episode of How to Start, Grow, and Monetize Your Podcast, please feel free to leave us a 5-star review wherever you download your podcast. Give us a follow and give us a subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if maybe you've got a brilliant tool or a brilliant hack or a way that you're utilizing AI within your podcast content creation, your production, let us know because we're always laughing and learning here on the pod. Cheers for listening. We'll see you on the next one.